Good morning, everyone. I am Carol Williams with Williams Immigration, and we are back for another edition of Beyond the Soundbite, where we talk about all things U.S. immigration. So, the first thing I want to talk with y'all about this morning is a question that I have been getting quite a bit recently, understandably so. So, I wanted to talk with y'all about it. And the question that I have been getting is, can I travel? And so here's what I have been telling people. If you have the proper documents to travel in whatever your individual situation is, if that includes a visa, your passport, a copy of the approval notice, a copy of the receipt notice in some cases, and maybe your expired green card, if you're removing conditions or what have you, or, advanced parole, whatever your individual situation is, if you know that you have all the documents that you need to travel, then really the short answer is yes, you can travel. But what I've been telling my clients is the better question is, should I travel? So, can you travel? Yes, sure. The better question is, should I travel? And I, as my clients know, I take a very conservative approach. And right now, I'm telling my clients that they shouldn't travel unless it is absolutely required and necessary. I'm doing that for a couple of reasons. One is that policies right now are quickly changing, and information sometimes is a little slow to get to the person that you actually talk to in the airport. So that information coming from Department of Homeland Security down through USCIS, down through headquarters, by the time it finally gets to the CBP officer in the airport or the CBP officer at the Canadian border or the Mexican border, they may not have the most recent information, right? And that honestly is through no fault of their own. It just that it takes time to go through the whole chain of command within a massive agency. So that's the first reason. The second reason is that the new incoming president is very enforcement focused. And he has said that he wants more vetting and more security measures focused on immigrants coming into our country and applying for benefits. So you may experience a completely different feel when you are in an airport trying to return to the US. And so I joke about my crystal ball, but truly, I can't tell you what's going to happen when you get to the airport, even though all of your documents may be correct. So at this point, I'm telling people, if you want to travel both domestic and international, and you know that all of your documents are good, then the short answer to your question of, Carol, can I travel? The short answer is yes. But the better question is, should I travel? And to that, I am telling people they should not travel right now. But again, if you need to travel, if it is required, if it is necessary, then I absolutely recommend that you have a conversation with your immigration attorney so that they can really look at your particular situation. So the next thing I want to talk about is H-1B registration. It is looming. We are getting ready for it. We are currently waiting for the announcement of the actual lottery dates from USCIS. As of right now, we don't have them. This time last year, a colleague reminded me this weekend that we did have them. So I'm hoping that we'll get them in the next couple of days, sometime this week, hopefully. That said, I still expect it to be in March. We just don't know the actual days yet. That said, while we are, getting everything prepared for the lottery on our end, now is a perfect time. If you cannot remember your My USCIS login information, now is the best time to go find it, right? Sort through all the sticky notes, ask your assistant where it is, all the things, right? If you are in a new position, and maybe you weren't in charge of this, inside your company last year, you're gonna have to wait in order to set up your account, but just know that, right? But if you had an account last year and you're gonna need to access it this year, now is perfect time to find that password. If you need to do degree equivalencies, if you need to figure out if somebody has the equivalent of a U.S. bachelor's degree, now is the time to do that, right? You don't want to be selected for the lottery and then find out that you don't actually have the equivalent of a U.S. bachelor's degree. So that's what I'm going to say about the CAP season for right now. The next thing I want to talk to y'all about is the message that went out to most federal workers, not all, but most federal workers about a buyout situation where they could essentially take sort of like an early, resign and then, kind of get severance, I think until September, I think was the date or whatever. And so this severance / buyout offer includes employees at USCIS. So if a significant number of employees from USCIS accept this buyout offer and they terminate their employment with the agency, plus the executive order regarding a hiring freeze within the federal government, this sort of reduction in workforce could lead to slower processing times and larger backlogs. So we'll see. If zero sort of on the ground info in terms of how many people from USCIS have taken this offer. But if there's a significant number of people that take the offer, and again, I have no numbers, we may see a slowdown in the application. So I will keep you up to date on that. So the H-1B rule came into effect January 17th, so last month. I want to kind of remind you of one piece of that rule, which I think will be really good moving forward. So that rule put into place the deference, the idea of deference. So deference to prior non-immigrant applications that were filed on Form I-129. So that is more than just the H. I know that y'all love to hear me talk about H's. It's more than just the H. It's H's, L's, O's, P's, the applicant E's, anything that is processed on your I-129, right? And really what it means is, unless there's been a material change or something super significant in the eligibility requirements, the agency will give deference to their prior decisions. So if you're looking at, let's say, an extension, same employee, same company, same job duties, I am not at all saying that the service is just going to rubber stamp. They are not. They're going to read the application, but there should be a level of deference that is applied to that application. So just keep that in mind. And I want to talk to you about the executive order, America First trade policy. So that is looking at the trade policies that we have, the U.S. vis-a-vis with other countries, right? So we know that they are looking at the trade policy between U.S., Canada, and Mexico, formerly called NAFTA, now called U.S.-Mexico-Canada Agreement. We also know that there's been talk of tariffs this weekend. The U.S. has now levied tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and China. So specifically those tariffs between Mexico and Canada, in addition to the America First trade policy, could impact the TN visa. The TN visa is a part of the USMCA, again, the U.S.-Mexico-Canada Agreement, which allows for professionals from US, Canada, and Mexico to flow pretty seamlessly across these two borders between the three countries. So I will definitely keep an eye on how, when, maybe if this sort of combination of reviewing of the US trade agreements plus the new tariffs will impact TNs and the ability to sort of move professionals pretty seamlessly across the borders. So I will keep you updated on that to the extent that we have anything new on that. And the last thing I wanted to talk to y'all about this morning is another EB2 national interest waiver tip. So we know that EB2 is a second preference employment-based green card category. So second preference means it is for individuals that have a master's degree or higher. But if you don't have a master's degree, and let's say you only have a bachelor's degree, if you have a bachelor's degree plus 5 years of what we call progressive experience, that qualifies or is the equivalent of a master's degree. So when we're looking at whether or not somebody has a master's degree or a bachelor's plus 5, we're looking at, is that progressive experience in the specialty of which they are applying. So if you're applying as a software engineer and that's what your endeavor is, 5 years of progressive experience, let's say, as someone who's a basket weaver or an architect, is not going to work because it's not related. So you want to make sure that your bachelor's degree plus your 5 years progressive experience is in the same specialty. You also want to make sure that your 5 years of experience relates to the degree, right? So I've seen people try to cobble together, lots of different combinations just to get the 5 years. That doesn't work. CIS is not going to approve that. So you want to make sure that your 5 years of progressive experience all loops into and relates to your endeavor and your degree. So that is all I have for us this morning. I didn't sort of want to overwhelm you with information, but that's what I have this morning. Have a wonderful rest of your Monday and a great rest of your week. Bye.